What's up, guys? Today we're gonna learn how to switch blunt on a mini ramp. Now, before you start learning this trick, you just want to make sure you could switch rock and nose manual. So yeah, nose manual, I think it really helps with this trick just because that motion of like nollying off of something can really help if you like lock that into your head. So I would recommend just practicing some nose manuals or like nollying off a curb, or even it's called a Chinese ollie. It's where you don't really ollie, you just kind of, it's like coming out of a nose manual where you don't pop, you just kind of push forward off the nose and get off the curb. All right, guys, so when I come up for a switch blunt, I have my left foot, my toe directly in the center of the nose, and I have my back foot almost all on the board, kind of like an ollie. So there's a few reasons why switch blunt is much easier than a blunt fakie. One reason is you're able to face into the ramp. Like, so when you're switch coming up and you go to pop in, you're looking back into the ramp and your shoulders open. And when you're riding up regular, for some reason it's just a different feeling and your shoulders more trained to look towards the ramp. As opposed to switch, you could open up your shoulder, you feel more comfortable, and it's easier to come back in. Another reason is a lot more people can nose manual than can switch nose manual, right? And when you go to pop out of a nose manual, you're nollying out of it. You know, you're coming out like a switch blunt. And blunt fakie is like the equivalent of a switch nose manual. So I just think the comfort's there for a switch blunt. It might feel a little awkward at first when you're coming up and trying to get into it, but it's definitely much easier to pop back in. Also, another way to get comfortable coming back in is to learn like a switch pivot. It's a similar motion, just not with popping, and that can get you more comfortable. Same goes with a blunt fakie. You can learn pivot fakie. All right, so as I press on the nose or the tail, whichever you want to call it, when I come up, I press a little bit, just get those wheels up, keep all my weight on my foot on the nose, all my weight. And you kind of have to get used to learning this like one swift motion where you like press on the tail, you come up, and you just let it sit for a second, and then you snap it back in, right? And one technique that definitely helps me is making sure this nose hits the ramp and it gets it a nice little snap. And so when I bail this trick, it's not really like a bail from a blunt fakie. It's almost completely different just because of the nature of how your shoulders are turned. You're more blind when you're coming in from a blunt fakie. And so it's easier to stay behind it and kind of take one foot off. But with this, I rarely kind of jump off. And if I do, it's because I was just so off balance when I was coming up. And I know I didn't get into it right. So I kind of just ditched the board. Once you're able to get into it, another thing is your front foot, your ollie foot. If you kind of keep that closer to your body and almost make it like it's non-existent, like light-footed, you're just almost kind of lifting it, where the board has more freedom to go straight, it'll allow for the nose to actually hit the ramp. Sometimes if you keep your feet too level, that's what's kind of preventing your ollie, you know, letting your nose hit the ramp when you try to ollie. That's it. Once you start feeling the pop, just go for it and stick it and lean forward. And once you get those down, you can try to learn some variations. Way too hot for that.